In 2015, over 100,000 children were waiting to be adopted or to be put into foster care. Today I'll provide you with the history of adoption, the different types of adoption, and the criteria that must be met so that you can adopt a child. The history of adoption is far-reaching and can be seen throughout almost all civilizations. The Babylonian Code of Hammurabi contains the oldest stone laws concerning adoption and was written in 1780 BC. Throughout history, places like Greece, Rome, Egypt, the Middle East, and Asia have used adoption in some way or another. While adoption could be seen around the world for centuries, it wasn't around until around the 20th century that adoption began to be regulated by the government or by laws, especially in America. One famous example of adoption can be seen in the Bible when Moses was adopted by the Pharaoh's daughter by the Nile River when she found him inside of a hand-woven basket alone. Adoption can come in many different forms depending on how the birth parents and the adopting parents approach the adopting process. Agency adoption, independent adoption, designated adoption, foster adoption, kinship care, and step-parent adoption are just some of the few types of adoption that the parents can go through. Agency adoption involves the parents, the birth parents, and the adopting parents to go through an agency, public or private. Public meaning that is supported by the government, and private meaning is supported by donations. This may be done so that the parents, both couples can receive special services such as training, counseling, and support throughout the entire adoption process. Independent adoption is the type of adoption in which the birth parents and the adopting parents find each other and choose to go through the adoption process without using an agency. Sometimes an intermediary, which may be a member of the clergy, an attorney, a physician, or a social worker, may act as a facilitator in this type of adoption. Designated adoption is somewhat of a combination between the first two. In this type of adoption, the birth parents and the adopting parents will find each other, similar to how it works in independent adoption, and will proceed to choose an agency to finish their adoption under, like in the agency adoption. They will do this sometimes to get special services as well. Foster adoption involves foster parents adopting a foster child who has recently come out of foster care and to adopt them into their families permanently. Kinship care is the adoption in which a relative or a close family friend adopts a child that was born into another family. This is typically done because the birth parents aren't able to take care of their child anymore. Step-parent adoption is one of the most common types of adoption in the U.S. currently, and involves the child to be adopted by a step-parent. This can only occur under the birth parent's consent or by the termination of the birth parent's parental rights by a judge. Many different factors affect the adoption process. Many applications, such as the pre-application and the formal application, must be filled out before you can begin the adoption process. Home studies, checkups, and background checks are also essential parts of this process. Home studies being done so that the child's home may be checked to see if it's safe enough for them to live in under those conditions. Checkups to make sure that the family is healthy enough to take care of the child. And background checks to make sure that the family is safe and responsible enough to take care of the child. Patience, while not a physical object, is also something that is needed during the adoption process because of the waiting periods, which can range from months to even years. While the adoption process may be lengthy and quite stressful, it is allowed for children who had no home to find new families. Just like with my sister, about 9 years ago, we brought her home when she was 4 days old. That's me, my little brother, my dad and my mom, and my little sister. Adoption allows not only the child being adopted to benefit, but the parents and family as well, just like with my family.